Andrea Tantaros Show.
Do you believe it is still the goal of the Supreme Leader to destroy Israel and destroy the United States?
Well, when you say, do I believe that...
What do you think? Do you believe? What do you think about that position? He states
I think
that.
their rhetoric is dangerous and threatening and incredibly counterproductive.
But he doesn't believe him. Welcome back to the Andrea Tantaros Show. I'm Sam Sorbo, sitting in 800-876-4123. That was John Kerry expressing some sort of disbelief that Iran really wants to kill Americans or the Jews, or that they're really that dangerous. I mean, their rhetoric is dangerous. The language is dangerous. We are living in a time, ladies and gentlemen, where language is dangerous, but people are not. I guess that's... Well, I don't know. My guest is Craig Wynn. He's an American author, also a former businessman. He's published 5 books, including several on terrorism and Islam. Maybe you can shed some light. Is it just the language that's dangerous, or do they really pose a threat, like a physical threat to the United States? What do you think?
Well, certainly. Hello, Andrea. Or excuse me, Sam.
That's okay.
The reality is that Islamic countries have been indoctrinated, the people in Islamic countries have been indoctrinated since birth to hate non-Muslims. And they are told to fight and kill them until only Islam exists as a religion. The problem with Iran, which is different than other Islamic countries, is that you have no buffer. It's the most fundamentalist Muslims that are in charge of that country, as opposed to, if you looked at Iraq prior to the American invasion, we had a secular dictator. Now we have a government that is controlled by Tehran. But when you have a country where the most fundamentalist Muslims are in charge of that country, then while their rhetoric may often be untrue and unreliable, when it is consistent with their Quran and Hadith and with their Prophet, then at that point you really ought to believe them.
Well, I know I believe them, but John Kerry doesn't. So does that put us in a difficult position?
Well, we're actually in a difficult position because we made this problem in Iran. When we invaded Iraq and essentially gave Iraq to Iran, we not only started the Syrian civil war, but we made it possible for Iran to complete its nuclear ambitions. So we made this problem. It's one of our own making. And I've analyzed this problem from every possible angle. There is no way to prevail anymore. It's very much like if you point a gun at your friend's head and you pull the trigger. Once that bullet has left the chamber, you can't save your friend anymore. All you can do is learn from the mistake and not repeat it. Iran's going to have a nuclear bomb. There is absolutely nothing the world can do to stop that at this point. But what we can do is learn how we got into this mistake so that we prevent our government from doing stupid things in the future.
Oh, I don't know. Can we prevent the government from doing stupid things, really?
Well, that's a really good response. What we can do is become more aware of how unethical, immoral, inappropriate, counterproductive our government is, particularly when it invades other countries and deploys our military. And it's also, on economic issues and all manner of other political issues. But while I don't think it's possible, no matter how effective talk radio is, which is probably the best catalyst in America, at educating listeners on the fact that their government really now is the problem, I don't think we'll ever get enough people motivated to prevent the government from continued stupidity. So your point is well taken. I think all we can do is warn people so that more and more people are at least aware and can make better decisions.
And you're a bowl full of sunshine. Have people told you that?
Yeah, well, there is hope. It's just unfortunately there isn't hope collectively. You can analyze the Iran thing, for example, which is where we got to this, every possible way. And there is no military or economic or political solution that's going to prevail. So, I mean, really what we want to do is figure out how we got in this mess.
Well, you sound like you were against the war before you were against the war. Is that safe to say? You would never have supported
the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq in both cases before we went in, because I knew what the motivation was for 9/11 and recognized that you can't win a war against religious zealots with bullets and bombs. That's all you do with a religious zealot is
But then
worse.
So then do you not fight?
There are times when you can fight, and there are things worth fighting for. I would have, for example, in the Sudan, when the Northern Islamic government of the Sudan over a 20-year period wiped out 3.5 million animus and Christians, there are times when you can deploy when you know you can't make the situation worse, and no matter what you do, you're going to make it better. So there are times to do that. In the Middle East, I would have fought with the confiscation of the oil properties that created the monopoly of OPEC, because it fundamentally changed the world and it became the fuel for the Islamic terrorism we face today. But invading Afghanistan and invading Iraq, both on lies, which is a habit of America, is to begin wars on misconceptions and misstatements. Both of those were counterproductive moves that both took bad situations and made them much worse.
But you wouldn't know specifically that you were going to make it worse before you went in.
Oh, absolutely. I did 3,000 radio interviews and wrote actually 15 books depicting exactly what was going to happen in Afghanistan and in Iraq before we invaded either place. So it was once you understand the nature of the religion that drove people to perpetrate suicide bombings on our buildings, it becomes very easy to predict what the outcome is going to be if you invade them. In fact, with Afghanistan, all you have to do is look at history. No one has ever been successful in invading Afghanistan.
Well, mind you, you're characterizing the war as an invasion. It wasn't an invasion.
Absolutely, it was an invasion. You can call it anything you want to. Both of them were invasions. We invaded both countries. Where we finally left Iraq, but we left it broken. We left Iraq far worse than we found it. And with Afghanistan, we're still there. We're an invading army. That's how they view us. That's how the world views us. That's what we did. And if your thought is that we just went in there because we were going to go get al-Qaeda, well, long after al-Qaeda was gone, we were still bombing away in Afghanistan, and we changed our mission to repelling the Taliban. But the Taliban's stronger in Afghanistan and more influential now than they were before.
So you view both of...
And this notion in Afghanistan that you're fighting the Taliban when you're sending billions of dollars to the Pakistanis, the Taliban reports to the Pakistanis. The Pakistani ISI created the Taliban. They fund the Taliban. They orchestrate the Taliban. The Taliban is as much part of the Pakistani government as the Marines are the U.S. government.
Right. I agree. It's a mistake to try to differentiate the two. But
Right.
So if your contention is there's no point in fighting Islamic terrorism.
Yeah, there is a way to fight it. It's just you don't use bullets and bombs.
So what do you use?
Words. Get more people. For example, I wrote a book. It's free. I'm not trying to make a nickel here. I wrote a book called Prophet of Doom. It was my second book on Islam. The most comprehensive presentation of the Islamic scriptures. It takes the Quran and for the first time puts the Quran in chronological order and puts it in the context of Muhammad's life using the hadith, which are the words and deeds of Muhammad. The most comprehensive presentation of his words and deeds ever written. When somebody takes the time, take you 50 hours to read the book. It's 1,000 pages. It's free at profitofdoom.net. Once more Americans come to realize that we're not winning this war. In fact, we're making it worse with bullets and bombs. And we come to the terrorists. And once more people are aware of the facts and willing to speak out against us, people like yourself found copies of their internal documents and shared them with the world. And people were so appalled by Hal Klan religion that within 5 years, they lost 90% of their members, and it became, if we would speak out against it and condemn it and expose it, people in free countries that have a choice, they certainly wouldn't carry out terrorist acts on behalf of Muslims, And then the one place we can use our military is to stop the Islamic fiefdoms like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, and others from fueling Islamic terrorism. And they're the principal source of weapons and logistics for the fundamental Islamic terrorists that are wreaking hell around the world. So we can use our military in that regard.
But we have a government right now that is very sympathetic to Islam.
That's pretty kind. Earlier you corrected me when I misspoke about our ability to actually change our country. This government is far more than sympathetic to Islam. Islam is by far its favorite doctrine. This government is responsible for having gone into Cairo and to have given a speech that told Muslims this was their time, and that the United States would not fight against Islam. Even lied to say the United States hadn't fought against Islam. The first two wars of the United States were both against Islam. And he inspired them, the fundamentalist Muslims, to rise up. They did. I mean, this president is the catalyst for what we have seen across northern Africa and the Middle East. And you look at nations like Tunisia that's gone fundamentalist Muslim. You look at Libya, a direct result of his malfeasance, that we drummed out a secular dictator, and we made it possible to equip the rebels so that we now have a government of jihadists. Look at the mess in Egypt. And the Syrian civil war is a direct result of our invasion of Iraq. Had we not invaded Iraq and given Iraq to Iran, the Syrian civil war would not exist. So, yes, this president has been an absolute disaster. And so, is there any possibility of anyone other than talk radio hosts doing this job while he's in power? No. You stand on unique ground.
Well, aren't I lucky?
The question is,
Listen,
are we willing to do it? It takes a lot of courage to tell the truth, particularly when truth is not popular.
Yes, that's true. Craig Wynn, thank you so much for coming on the program. Where can people get your book? Prophet of Doom, is that it?
Introtogod.org.
There you go. All right, thank you so much for coming on this show. This is the Andrea Tantaros Show. I got to take a quick break. I'm Sam Sorbo, sitting in 800-876-4123.
It's the Andrea Tantaros Show. The Andrea Tantaros Show.